Alright guys, today we're going to be working on adding a player into the game. This is my current version of Space Invaders, but what we're going to be doing is adding a player that can fire projectiles to actually play the game. Alright, so that's our mission objective, add this guy for this video. Alright, let's get started by going to the test world, or the main world here, and we're going to need to add a player holder. So you notice we got projectile holder, squirt, spawn point holder, squirt holder, cameras, lights. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to add another regular node, and we're going to call this the player holder. Alright, inside of that player holder, we're going to put some markers so we know where the player is going to spawn. So I'm going to add a 3D, or actually it's a marker 3D. And I'm going to move this marker 3D, let me show you the transform location, to -15. And then I'm going to call this P1 spawn location. And then I'm going to make another one. I can do Control D to duplicate that, and I'll change this one to P2 spawn location. And for its location, I'm going to put it at +15. Alright, so we have two different spawn locations for our character. This is just going to hold the player, and we're going to work on actually creating the player now, because we've got the spawn places, but we don't actually even have a player to spawn. So let's go ahead and make the player. So at the top, we'll hit the plus sign, and I'm going to click Other Node this time. And the node we're looking for is a character body. Character body is a special class for physics bodies that are meant to be user controlled. They are not affected by physics at all, but they affect other physics bodies in their path. They mainly are used to provide a high-level API objects with wall and slope direction. I can keep reading, but basically this is just the basic character for 3D characters. So let's do this, create. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick I'm going to add a couple of things for it, because right now it's just the point. Let's add a mesh. We're adding a mesh instance 3D. I probably also want to rename my character. This could just be player. And then I'll add a collision shape. And then I will add one more thing, a marker 3D. And this will be the muzzle. That's going to be where the projectiles actually fire from. Let's add an actual shape. So I'll click on the mesh here, and then I'm going to select a shape. I'm just going to use the prism shape. And so what we'll probably end up doing in class is we'll probably end up designing our own character ship to put in there. But right now, for our placeholder, we're just going to use this triangle. Under the transform of the mesh, let's see where we're at. Here we go. Mesh, transform. Change this Z index here to 0.2. We don't want him to be big and thick, but I just shrank him a little bit there. Alright. Then I'm going to go to the collision shape, and I'm going to add the prism. There should be a prism somewhere. I don't see it. Let me double check my collision shape. Convex polygon. don't. Oh, right there. Convex polygon shape. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself, so let's fix this. Okay, so for this, let's change this back to 1. Just for a second. That's the scale. Put the scale back to 1, 1, 1. Go to the collision. Let's redo this. I want you to go to the collision. Click under... Oh, gosh. I think you do convex polygon. New convex polygon. Oh, what is going on here? Dang. Click on the mesh, actually. Click on the mesh. And then go to create collision shape. And then do single convex. And hit create. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so let me do that all over again. I'm going to get rid of this collision shape. We don't even need it. Okay, so click on the mesh. Click mesh here and say create collision shape. And choose single convex and hit create. Alright, that'll use the actual shape that you selected and just make a shape around it. Alright, after you've done that, then you can shrink the size of the mesh. So come to the mesh and do 0.2. So the collision shape will be larger than the actual the ship, but that's okay. Alright, sorry about the confusion. Alright, so let's go ahead and save this scene. So we'll do Control S. We'll go to Scenes. And we will put this in a folder. So new folder, and we'll call it Players. And this will just be, I'm going to change this to Player Ship. Player Ship. Okay, save. Alright, we've got the player ship. Now he needs a script, so I'm going to click on the player. And I'm going to add a script. But I want to make sure I put this in the right folder. So I'm going to go to the scripts folder here. Scripts. And again, I'm going to make another folder for players. So add players. So now I've got a folder for players. And this is just going to be player ship again. Save. And create. Alright. So we've got our ship and we've got our player. I'm going to save this and I'm going to go to the test world. And I want to put my player into the world for the first time. I'll go to the spawn holder. I'll click the link next to the, up here at the top, I can click on the link. And I'm going to click play, or I'm going to type player ship. Now put the ship in the floor, so I'll pull it out of the floor, and there it is. Alright, so I've got this little triangle in the world. If I play my world here, I've got the player. He's kind of tiny. We might need to make him a little bit bigger. Let's see what he should be. What size should? Let's make his size bigger. So go to player ship. Go to the player. And let's go to his transform, and we'll make him 3. There we go. So everything about him should have got bigger. I saved that. I did Control S to save that. Let's go take a look back at this world. He should get bigger. Let's play it again and see if he gets larger. Nope, we might have to remove him and re-put him in there again. So let's do that. Delete the player. Click on the link. Add the player ship. Move him up. There we go. He's a little bit bigger there. Alright, now when we play it, he's in the world. There he is. He can't move. We're going to need to add some buttons for movement for our guy. So let's go to Project. Let's go to Project Settings. And then we'll go to Input Map. And we're going to need to make quite a few buttons. I'm going to just make the button. You know what? I'll make a couple for you on the screen. So I'll go to Add New Action. And I'll say P1 underscore move right. And I'll click Add. For the move right button, I'm going to use D. So you hit the plus sign over here. And press, you can just click the key you want. So I'll click D. So I've got player 1 move right, and then I'm also going to add some other buttons. I'll do P1 move left, and to the move left button I'll use A. Alright, I'm going to add a series of buttons in here. I'm not going to sit here and type them all and make you watch. If you want to use different buttons for yours, you absolutely can. Okay, here's all the buttons actually added in. I did player 1 move right, left, up, down, WASD. You'll notice that the buttons are kind of strange. The reason I have this format for the buttons is because it plays on the arcade machine in the room. So if you want your game to ever possibly play on that, you want to use these keys. I did add a couple extra buttons, like for the firing, which is player 1 action 1. I did space as well. That is not a key that's on the arcade, but you can add multiple keys if you want to test it on your computer versus on there too. So for the action 1, which is my fire, I also added a space. Start and select, those are basic buttons in most games. So I'm going to just start hiding these a little bit. You can pause the video as you need to look at them. The actions are G, H, R, T, and Y. I know those buttons might be weird to you, but they are on the arcade machine. Keep going. Alright, and then you have player 2's movement. He uses the arrow keys, right arrow, left arrow, up and down. And then his actions are J, K, L, U, I, and O. And then I added one special button called debug button. It's number 3. I just went ahead and added all the stuff that I have in my version of the game that's a little farther along. And I added a debug key. So this is for like testing if I want to close the game faster or whatever. I can't remember what I used it for, but I think it's maximizing the screen and minimizing the screen. Okay, this is the list of buttons. This is how they're spelt. I don't think I made any mistakes. Okay, there we go. Close. So now if you want to get back there, project settings, input map, there's the buttons. Alright, we've got buttons to use. Let's go ahead and go back to our player script. And let's go to his script. At the very start of the script, you know I always add some notes for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is going to be player ship. Okay. We got a couple things we need. We're going to need a muzzle. So that's going to be where the projectile fires from. So over here on the side, we added muzzle, that location. So let's go take a look at that little location guy here. Right now, when I click on the muzzle, it's just dead center of the character. I can pull it up, and then it'll be at the top. This is where the projectile is actually going to come from. Later on in the year or this week, we'll probably design our own characters. When we do that, your projectile might fire from a slightly different location. If that's the case, you will use you'll just move that location around to make that work for you. I'm going to do point 0.55. So that's like right at the tip of that of the player right there. So that's that. The projectile comes from the muzzle. Alright, so I just kind of relocated it. Okay, let's do just a few things. You know, I'm going to put the code in here so you guys don't have to just sit here and listen to me talk. So give me 1 second. Okay, I got some stuff in here. We're going to talk about it, and let's go. Here's our ready function. Not really doing much here. Starting of, well, I should say, when the jet is first created, this happens. Okay. Alright, so I've got some boundaries on the x-axis, and you'll notice I used a vector 2. One of them is negative 47.5, and the other one is 47.5. That is how far the ship can move on the x-axis, either to the left or right, and the ship spawns in between those two spots. So if we take a look at our test world, currently our ship is sitting on 0 on the x. So if we move him to the left, the x goes negative. See right here, this is what I'm looking at. It's going even more and more negative. And then we want him to be able to go all the way to 40 something. What did I say? 47.5. We could edit that number and not let them go so far if we would like, but that's the general idea. As he moves to the left, his buttons basically will not allow him to go past this, because we're going to say as long as you are below that number, you can keep going to the left, and vice versa. If you go to the right, you're getting a positive on the x. So I know this is a 3D game, but I'm kind of sticking to this 2D axis here. We're not going to be moving this ship forwards, or you know, on the z or the y axis just yet. Okay, so that's what our boundaries here are for. The ship speed's just the general speed for moving him left and right. There's not much to say there. Then we have movement direction. If the movement direction is 0, he's not moving either left or right. He's staying in the center. If he's -1 on his movement direction, which way do you think he would be moving? Well, let's take a look again at this 3D part. If we're going negative, we're going to the left. So let's go back to our code. We're going to put movement direction for the left. We'll make movement direction -1. And if we do to the right, it's obviously going to be the opposite of 1. Alright, so that might still be a little bit confusing to you. Maybe I can make this make a little bit more sense. Process delta. This plays every frame of the game. Plays every frame of the game. So if we take our guy's movement, so let's get our ship's movement. So we'll just say self, or his location really. We'll say self.global position plus equals, and then we'll say we'll take the ship's speed, and we will multiply it by the movement direction. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to also consider delta. I think I've described this about 1,000,000 times for you guys. The basic meaning for delta is the time in between frames. Basically, adding this in makes sure that computers that are really fast run at the same speed as computers that are not necessarily as fast. Okay, so we're going to use this right here. So pressing left is going to cause movement direction to either be -1, 1, or not pressing it would be 0. So 0 times ship speed is going to be 0 movement. If you do 1 times 25. That's going to be 25, positive 25, and your ship is going to be moving to the right. If you do -1 by pushing left, your ship's direction will be -25, and it will be moving to the left. All right, let's see what happens when we play this world here. Error. What did I do now? I forgot to put .x. We're only moving on the x-axis, and so if you didn't do that, it's looking for all the different areas, all the different x, y, and z, but we're only moving just the x-axis. That's why I marked that in there. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a shot again. So now pushing x, or pushing left and right, is making our guy move to the left and right. Now, since we didn't use our boundaries, he can go outside of those boundaries and just keep on going for forever. Now, we don't want him to do that, so let's fix our code a little bit more here. So we only want him to be able to go in that direction. I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in here. We only want him to be able to go that far if he hasn't passed our boundary yet. So I've got 2 lines of code to help us do that. Okay. This boundaries.y, that little .y might confuse you a little bit. Let me take away the mystery. The first, in vector 2, the first spot is .x. That's why this one is .x. And then the second one would be .y. So if you're considering moving to, I think this is to the right. Yeah, if you're going to the right, then you don't want to go past this boundary, 47.5. And if you're going to the left, you don't want to go past this boundary, which is -47.5. All right, so this little piece of code that we just added basically says, if we're trying to move to the right, let me type this, if moving to the right, don't go past 47.5. And then the other one would be if moving to the left, don't go past -47.5. All right, let's play that. Now when I move to the right, ship will not go past it, because once we get to this 47.5, it won't allow it to keep going. And if I go to the left, once I hit that wall, it will not let me. Once I hit that marker, I cannot keep going because my button basically shuts off and stops working. All right, so that is our movement section. I will pull up another video. I will give you guys another video and we'll make him fire the projectile in the next one.